Jesus. YouTube is such a fun place to be in, but for everyone else, hello, welcome,
Hey,
welcome to the Deadly D8 stream. I am your host, James. I don't know why I'm still wearing the glasses, by the way. That's weird. I'm trying to copy you, Eli. Um, yes,
you hip and
I'm
switching
super
on.
excited to be here. We got Eli, our resident editor, I guess. What would
Sure.
your official title be? Okay.
I like to go by editor. I think editor is the best title for me.
Well, we got our amazing editor Eli coming in for an actual live stream instead of lurking around in the occasional interviews. But if you recognize his voice, if you've seen any of the Online at 6, Liam the Lich's item shop, 1000% Eli does the voice of MacArthur in a few videos and is kind of what keeps the whole I would say Deadly D8 thing like going. It's genuinely a lot of fun. So yeah, introduce yourself to say hello to everyone out there.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eli. I am, the editor of Deadly D8. I put together most of our videos. I do most of the arranging, and I work with all of the artists who make the awesome Deadly D8 content that we put out every month. It's a variety show of content, and I'm proud of all the great people we get to work with. We're going to talk a little bit today about PaizoCon, which I am excited for. I have not James. I have not seen any of this, and you have seen a little bit. So
Yes.
tell us about what you've seen.
Okay, so just naturally based off of being a major I wouldn't say major player. That's a very bad term to use in this case. I think just being a Pathfinder content creator, having to keep up on the social media of it all and seeing all my freelancing buddies and, probably fellow Pathfinder Twitter mutuals. That's a term, mutuals. I was trying to remember basic English, apparently. Yeah, I've been really excited. I saw a lot of Dark Archive stuff and the announcement of what the next book is going to be, or at least one of the major ones. I think personally they're gonna save a lot for Gen Con because that's always their like big press release day. But I'm super excited, especially since you haven't seen any of it. I get to lord over you with this knowledge of potential stuff that we could see.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what is in store.
Let me ask you before we like really hop into it all.
Sure.
What do you think you're gonna see in this?
Oh, that's a big question. I mean, I hope that we see some response to some community comments that we've seen over the last year. We've had a lot of community feedback about what we're looking for in Pathfinder. We've seen Pathfinder kind of splitting some different directions to appease different aspects of the fan base, and I'm curious to see moving forward what aspects of Pathfinder Second Edition they're going to highlight to continue focusing on, and what they're going to maybe shift their focus on from previous APs and books they've put out so far.
Well, I think they've answered a bit of that just going off of what I know of it, but also continuing I guess a tradition in a sense. Paizo always in my opinion always has this crazy vibe, I guess, of giving the fans what they want, but then also skewing what we thought we want and getting something a little bit better.
Oh yeah. I see a comment here from Primarch Star. Paizo answered a theory of a certain faction. So I'm curious to see what that faction is. And Primarch, if you let us know in the comments, like what faction in particular do you think that Paizo answered? I would be very interested in that.
Some long lost Lost Omens lore that got tucked away for like ages and everyone forgot about it, and then all of a sudden, boom, Numeria explodes.
I have one secret that I know about the Lost Omens travel guide that's coming out soon, and I am excited for when it launches because I know a small bit of information that may be included in it that has some dd8 lore with it. So we'll see. I don't know if that'll be in the announcements, but I know it was presented at PaizoCon. I saw on Twitter that was one thing that came up.
Okay. Wow. Did not
Oh
even
yeah.
know
Oh
about
yeah.
that
Keep your
myself.
eyes peeled. Oh no, I know.
Okay.
I haven't told anyone about this, but it's been on the down low. We'll see if it's it will almost certainly not be mentioned, but it will probably be included in the Lost Omens lore, the next one upcoming.
Well, all right then. I'm super excited. I'm just sorry. I'm just pouring over chat a little bit, and Crimson Redeemer's patron was revealed. That's pretty cool. And yeah, I think that we should just hop right into it because there's so much
Yeah.
to cover. Every con,
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
insane.
Yeah, let's get started. I'm curious to see what's in store. And James and I already talked a little bit beforehand. If there's any point that we want to stop and cover in a little more detail, we'll just mention, we'll pause the stream. But other than that, we're going to be, it sounds like, going through the most important parts of the streams and covering them and inserting our thoughts as we go here.
Before we get started officially,
Ooh.
I want to give a quick, brief shout out to our sponsor, World Anvil. If you don't know World Anvil and you haven't seen any of the live streams we've done or seen any recent video, well, congrats on being here. But second off, World Anvil is a great interactive online platform that helps GMs in so many great ways. I personally love using the timeline feature, and you could now map out PaizoCon's timeline if you really wanted to, of all the different little spoilers we get in every little live stream that they do. If you use code dd8 at checkout, you can get 40% off a 12-month subscription, which I still say is an absolute steal. I don't know why they gave us this great of a deal, but I still think that is just an amazing offer for the amount of like content you're going to get with it. I've always said that I've used this way before we were even like approached, or I was even on. Yeah, before I was on dd8, we were using an Age of Ashes to track my little wizard timeline. But yes, seriously check them out. They're such great friends of the show. And I think we should just go right into Paizo now.
Oh yeah, let's get started. I'm ready. My body's ready for this Paizo.
All right, let's hop into it.
A special shout out to all the fans on Paizo.com's message boards, and of course on the Pathfinder 2 subreddit, which has been just a wonderful community. Where
Pathfinder 2 subreddit shout out.
Oh my god, I love this.
Come check us out over there.
The subreddit's so helpful.
Absolutely.
I don't use Reddit that often, but they are absolutely great.
Members, so hooray to all of us, and especially to all of you. So let's get into it. Pathfinder.
Can we turn this volume up a smidge?
And a little bit into 2023. All right. So I'm not going to talk much about Book of the Dead. Book of the Dead just came out like a month ago. You're all familiar with it. Super cool book, getting really good response, and we're very happy with it. The sort of post-core strategy that we're taking, where we're
the cover alone is what has me excited.
And we're really doing deep dives on a specific
I'm going to pause it real quick. Something that's always intrigued me is just the fact that there's this plate and like a little bit of silverware. I don't know why. There's always small things in art that always get me. And like some of this other stuff, like I can justify, like, oh, obviously, like here's like the little bust, here's like the goblets, like very haunted house. But for some reason, just the fact that there's a dinner plate just flying across the cover, it just makes me laugh. I think Paizo does this great job.
People, and it's giving us
this is some Wayne Reynolds art, almost for sure. I mean,
it is.
And Wayne Reynolds really excels at the equipment in the picture, which is a small piece, but someone who's an item fan, I love it. I like to see these characters who are stacked with all of these items, and we even see these items being thrown at them. I'm for it.
And there is some really
And
unknown stuff
obviously,
in this
we're
book
seeing
that
our
I
two
couldn't
new
leave out here.
iconics
So here's what we're
joining
looking. Wayne Reynolds, this beautiful, beautiful cover.
the
It
current lineup.
features
And
two
you mentioned
new
items,
iconic
and then like obviously the
characters,
thaumaturge, the
and they, of
walking
course, are major important
literal item
characters
shop
because
of
they're two
just.
Oh,
brand
so
new
ready.
classes
Yes.
in Dark Archive. So let's talk
I've
about them for a second.
All
On
right.
the left, we
I
have
once again, just
Arion, who is
Wayne
our
Reynolds
male
kills it with
elf
this artwork.
psychic.
I mean,
Psychic
I've
I want to
allows
play
you
yeah.
to
Psychic
quickly
so
focus
badly
your
now.
character around a psychic path
I've
of
always
one
been a
to
fan of
20
Wayne
pieces
Reynolds.
of
I mean,
text.
even when I
You can
very
throw stuff
first
around,
started
sure, but
getting
you
into
can also
Pathfinder,
wield
which was
swords at
around the
distance.
playtest
You can
era,
slap arrows
I
in midair.
was in love
You
with
can
the
do
art.
it
It's very
all
stylized,
day
but in a way
long.
that works for me.
You
I
also
understand how
specialize
it might
in
be a
musical
little
cantrips and focus
divisive, but
spells.
I love
There's
it.
24 different types of psychic, and
There's
they're built
24
between
different
the
types of
combination of the
psychics. Holy
conscious,
crap.
which is sort of what they cast,
I
and the subconscious, how they cast it. And so
it
lots of
it,
different
it absolutely
combinations.
baffles
You
me
can
that
create a
Paizo can give
ton
us
of
this much
variety
content in
within
one
the
book.
new psychic
Like
class. And
24
here we've just
like
got a
options,
really
even
Yeah,
as
what does that
subclasses is
mean?
insane.
character to go
Yeah,
along
yeah,
with.
Well, when we get
twenty-four.
And say hello
well,
to
when we get
Aelion.
to
Next to Aelion, we have our iconic thaumaturge, and that
when we get to
is
the Dark Archive
Mios.
stream, we'll find out
Mios is
more
a
about it.
non-binary human
I think
thaumaturge. He's a they
also just
are a former night coach driver, and
Mios,
now
sorry,
they
just
have
reminds
gotten
me
into
so much
thaumaturgy.
of
So what
Kevroth
is a thaumaturge? Well,
Cruel
the thaumaturge is sort of the
from
quintessential magic
Iron
dabbler
Gods or the
/ night elf. It
Numeri
lets you play all
setting. It is
sorts of
it
occult
very
monster
much of a
hunters.
Kellic
You're steeped in more
vibe.
of a ceremonial and
Kelid. Ooh.
symbolic kind of mysticism than a
Somebody just
baseline
Let us-
somebody
wizard
at
or cleric.
Paizo
There's
just got
lots
mad
of
at me.
story hooks that just kind of come naturally to a
Let us
character
know
like
in
this,
chat
but
or
they
in the
infuse
comments
them
like
with
what you're
mystical
looking
flavor.
for out of the
Mechanically,
thaumaturge.
you have a
It sounds
wide
like a
range of implements
mechanically it
and
could
feats
go
to
a
draw
lot of
upon
different
every
directions.
magical creature.
And we've
Over the
seen the
course of your
playtest kind of what they're
your
looking
career,
to focus on.
your
I'm
thaumaturge
curious
will
what
be able to
everyone else
specialize in
wants
3
out
or
of the
potential
thaumaturge
9
moving
different
forward.
implements. And by implements, I mean things like that lantern or just special magical doodads. And these
So
will come in a
9
ton of different combinations
subclasses
that make sure that your thaumaturge is
on a
different than someone
thaumaturge.
else's. The
That's
thaumaturge is a
what,
full
like
martial
6
class
extra
that
than the
specializes
playtest?
in
I don't remember
levels
how
to
many were in the playtest. I only
identify
remember like
and
3 or 4. It was
Interesting.
not a
something
lot.
like
Yeah.
a werewolf.
It's
You're fighting a
more
werewolf.
than
Well, what should we
most
do?
classes, right?
We should use silver. We should
I
use
think like
wolf
the
That's
skin.
only
We should
rival
have
of that would be like
a
sorcerer,
connection
because
and a
there's like
knowledge
20
of your
sorcerer
occult lore
bloodlines in the
of different
core rule
weaknesses
book.
from monsters. It's a full martial class. You deal more
Oh, look
damage
at
to
that.
creatures with class
Mios
advantages
was from
so you have
Ustalav.
silver versus
I was right
werewolves,
about the
which
Kelid
gives you some
connections.
interesting
That's right. I've
advantages
read this lore.
over that type of creature. And so again, that is the thaumaturge. Say hello to Mios, our iconic
Just the detail
thaumaturge.
on both of them.
In addition to these new classes, Dark Archive provides an eclectic variety of rules themed around 8 major types of paranormal phenomena, such as cryptids or temporal anomalies. In each one of
So
those,
something we've seen
has,
Paizo do
some-
lately
like a
is
dossier taken from
having
a
these
particular Dark
APs and
Archive,
Lost
and
Omens books
also a
focused on
short
kind of
adventure.
essential
So
themes. So
this has not
the
only
Dark
player rules, but
Archive
also
seems to
features
be,
and for everybody to play
cleric's
through, to not just
thaumaturge
experience the stuff
versus
in theory,
these
but actually kind of throw it into the game.
evil
Here we see a sort of
entities,
dark ritual,
undead
certainly
and so
plays
forth,
into the theming of
and
the
and
Dark
com
Archive.
combating what that
Here we
looks like
have
in
some
a game.
cryptid stuff
I'm
going on.
interested
There's
to
art
see. I'm interested to
suggesting
see kind
what I
of
have to assume is a
what the
undead
not only
costume, but
interest
advanced
is
undead.
in that as a
And
whole.
here
So
we've got
who's
an
looking
interesting
for this in
trio
terms of
of
their
characters that
gameplay,
illustrate a
but
couple of fun
also
things about this
the
game.
other kinds
On
of
the left
subject
here,
areas
that
that we want to see
gentleman
more focus on in the
represents Secret
future, if that
Society
makes
Adjustments.
sense.
These are abilities you can add to
It
NPCs
does.
to
I
key
also
them,
think
like
that
speaking in codes, having connections to get out
Paizo
of
is starting to realize
consequences,
this a little
or
bit more
having
with
unseen
Pathfinder
teammates
2nd
set up
Edition,
traps and battle
is
for you.
leaving
So
things
what are the
slightly more
benefits of being a
broader
member
or
of
open
a secret
to not
society? For
open to
example, one might be
interpretation,
sort of
because
these
obviously the
Secret Society
rules
adjustments.
of
In
the
the middle
game has
here,
always
just to
been
point out
really, really
that
strong.
this is
But
an
in terms of
NPC, and I
open
picked it just
narrative,
because it's a Conrad
like
suit,
Thaumaturge
folks.
is a
It
very
Yes.
open narrative
Yeah.
class.
Expanse book not too long ago, one of the most popular.
Yeah, and these books that we're
I'd have to
getting,
say one of
whether it be the
strangest
Knights of
ancestors that we've
Lastwall or
done,
the
and
Dark
thus, of course, that
Archives,
means one of
they
my
kind of set
favorites
the
and
precedent
favorite of a lot of other
for
people. So
a concept of a campaign that you might want to look into and develop further, and they make the setting for those worlds for you to delve into more and either create a campaign around or work into your existing lore. So
monks.
we've
in
seen
the
like
mini
a couple
adventures.
very,
These mini
with
adventures
Guns and
take you
Gears and Dark
all
Archives,
over the
we've
world
seen
of
some
Golarion, including
very
places we
different,
had only
distinct
just sort of
settings that
delved
are
around the edges
options
of. So
for
there's some very
Pathfinder 2
exciting
players to
locales
kind of
to
delve
visit in the
into.
Dark
And I'm
Archive
curious to
as
see,
well.
what really
And
sticks
you'll
in the
be an
long
example
haul
of a
in
map
terms of what
of
players are
one of
interested
those
in
mini
pursuing
adventures.
as far as
This time
themes
for
of their
Golarion.
campaigns and homebrews that
Let's
they
see.
dive into.
And there are new class expansions and subsystems as well. And there's smaller stuff like feats, spells, and gear spread throughout. So lots of stuff for players, a ton of stuff for GMs, really anyone who's interested in exploring the paranormal in their game or interested in picking up a psychic or a thaumaturge.
Something I find myself
Really
asking a
fun
lot
place
as
to love
as
and
Paizo continues
the Dark
releasing all of their
Archive
books is,
book. And again,
are they made
Dark
more for
Archive is
GMs versus
scheduled
are they made more for
for
players? And
PaizoCon
obviously it's a mix of the two, because
2022, so we don't even have
certain
4 days to
percentages
wait. This
of
thing is
players
already
versus
pre-ordered,
DMs are going to be
and we
interested in
cannot
different
wait to
mixes.
get it
But
in your
I found a
hands.
lot of the recent context seems to be more GM focused, in that you can sit down and learn more about the lore around a specific subsegment of the Paizo world and see what you want to kind of develop more into and of. So it'll be interesting to see how that continues and how much is player versus GM oriented.
I actually just want to ask you a quick question before we get
Sure.
into all of the new stuff that,
Yeah.
immediately follows after this map. So Book of the Dead is this kind of a hybrid between
Yeah.
player and GM side, where I would say it's almost an even 50-50 split between the two, or maybe not quite so 50-50, but in terms of there's the lore section, obviously, of just like basic lore stuff, which benefits both players and GMs, but it was broken
For
into
sure.
here are player options, here are DM options. What do you think about that dynamic because Dark Archive seems to go in the same route of here are the new player options, but here are also new monsters, here's adventures you could potentially go on that you can just drag and drop into your games. What is your kind of thoughts on this approach?
Yeah, Paizo always, put yourself in their shoes. They're going to be asking themselves, what do we want to highlight? Obviously, there's a lot more players than there are GMs. So they're going to present a lot of options and a lot of lore that can benefit everyone. But also, they're going to be, we've seen from the past releases that they're focusing on different elements with each books. It's always gonna be a blend, and I guess I don't really have an answer to your specific question beyond it's gonna be different blends with each books, and I've always been interested to see what those blends look like with each release, and the Dark Archive absolutely being no different. I'm curious to see what they're focusing on here. I immediately, the screen we're paused on here, we have a nice little map, which is something more GM focused, and I've been really impressed by the quality of their maps lately, especially we're doing the Strength of Thousands. The quality of the maps in that has been really solid, and I'm glad they're investing the time and effort into those. But yeah, it's there's no one single answer for this, but I think it skews a little bit one way or the other with each release, and there's always going to be a certain blending of the two as they go. Does that answer your question, James?
It does, and I'm looking over at chat right now, and Manuel said Galarian has a lot of mini settings that are really cool, but it can be overwhelming to newcomers to know exactly there is in it. So I'm loving the Lost Omens books because of it, and I have to agree.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely loving these very hyper specific focuses on like they're broad enough where you can still apply them to your games, but it can cover a particular region that you wouldn't normally think about. Like the Mwangi expanse is so huge. There's no way, only Strength of Thousands and Age of Ashes can cover it. Like,
Yeah,
I
absolutely. Yeah, and we're seeing through the Lost Omens what aspects and what kind of stories they want to highlight most. With the Mwangi Expanse, we got this area that had otherwise been pretty unexplored in terms of like the lore around it. This was a kind of big mysterious area that finally we got this kind of this fuller lore for, and it's been interesting to see as each new book comes out, what areas they want to focus on. Sometimes they're focusing on areas that have already been developed. Sometimes they're focusing on areas that have not been developed. And they want to put a little more time and effort into. And I think that speaks a lot to hopefully what the player base is looking for in terms of what kind of, adventures they want to go on and what kind of people they want to see in those adventures.
Yeah, and I'm going to pose this question to chat actually. What's a particular Lost Omens that we haven't seen covered yet that you really would like to see? Personally, I've always advocated for it. I've bugged Luis Loza every time I've had an interaction to get me on a project with it, which is Numeria, only because my love of sci-fi is so ridiculous. But sadly, I have not been approached. I feel like I won't get in trouble with Paizo if I say that. If there is one, I guess I guess I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't yell at me, Paizo. But yeah, seriously, chat. What is your thoughts? I'd love to see where you think the Lost Online should go or should particularly cover. As
Yeah,
for
absolutely. Let's keep this video
yeah.
rolling, but I would absolutely love to hear what
book in
subject
that
or
book,
location areas people want to see more
that
of.
is treasure vaults.
This is what I wanted you to
I've
see.
heard of this. Yes, I'm so excited. I'm an item person. Let's see. Well, I'm gonna not talk. Sorry.
February of 2023.
Oof.
It features over 50
So we got a little
new
while.
and returning weapons, including much anticipated fan favorites
Ooh.
from Pathfinder First Edition like the Falcata and the Earthbreaker. So if there's a weapon from PF1 that you've been kind of like, why haven't they come back yet? It's probably going to be in this book, along with a bunch of stuff you've never ever seen before. It also features new shields and armor, from wooden breastplates for druids to the magical star.
I see a comment here from Soup for Sale. Cheliac stories are the best stories. Someone in my party loves a good Cheliac story. I'm curious, Soup, what interests you about Cheliac stories in particular? Like, what do you want to see more of, or what about Cheliac stories keep you focused and interested in those kind of stories? Oh, Manuel also mentions Cheliac's Lost Omens as well.
An entire chapter of new variant and expanded crafting rules for folks who don't want
New variant crafting.
Yeah, I heard about this on Twitter.
Pathfinder fans have been asking for this variant. I've seen so many crafting ones. Seeing Paizo hearing this from the fan base and expanding beyond the Game Master's Guide is like, I heard that and I just like freaked out because like I know how much we've like asked for it. And this seems like the perfect book for it.
So I'm a big mechanic nerd. Like, I love the mechanics of this game, and that's what sticks out to me. Crafting in particular was one that I think was well developed, but badly received as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, I think crafting mechanics are fine as is, but I think they require a little bit of GM fiat. So I think expanding those roles, giving a little more specifics with them. The downside is people wanted out of crafting, like they wanted to break the game in small ways. They wanted to be able to make items faster than they would have to pay for it, for better or worse. That's kind of your own opinion on what that looks like. But having more developed roles on that, I'm interested to see. This is obviously going to be some kind of alternative approach that they've came up with to address these issues mentioned by people. So now we're talking about some battle cards. You can't see behind me because I have everything blurred out, but I have all the battle cards behind me because I love having physical representation of items and everything with you. That just makes life so much easier for those of us who like physical representations right in front of us of the abilities of our characters and such.
Yeah, I wish I had more. You can't see it because Cthulhu's currently in the way of all my cards, but okay, so this is really cool, and I love the cover of Shadows at Sundown. Having a high-level play is something I've always thought Paizo should be pushing, because I know so many other systems, and I'm not just talking 5e, I'm talking about first edition, 3.5, second edition D&D, where high-level play is broken. It does not work, and I've said this since like early, like they should be pushing high-level play, and seeing it
because it works. It works.
It works.
I've done high-level Pathfinder 2e play, and it absolutely works just as good as it does in low level. And it's hard. It's hard to sell that to 5e players who might not quite understand the complexities of what that means, but it means a lot that Pathfinder still works at high level play, and you can have these ridiculous players that are, characters that are swimming up waterfalls or whatever that looks like, to do these uncanny feats that 5e just doesn't have language for. It's nice that Pathfinder 2e has language and mechanics to meet these high level demands of play.
By the time you see this, give it a check out because it's gonna be cool. It's eventful.
The artwork of these monsters or NPCs just always gets me. Just how cool is that witch?
Yes, I want to see. I'm so excited.
Full
for this.
Leshy adventure.
Yes, fleshies. This is a smart move, making the Leshy adventure.
So I know we're not like sponsored by them or anything like that, but I feel like the botanical bestiary would work so well for this one shot. Only just because I think more Leshy options the better. And this genuinely looks so cool.
Luigi Lisa says, "My theory is there will be a doppelganger versatile heritage." Luigi, what would you be looking for out of a doppelganger versatile?
It's hard to
that would be
balance
really...
those because it's a lot.
What does that look
of...
like?
I will say this: I have attempted to write one, and I used to have it on Pathfinder Infinite, and then I got rid of it because I was just like, this does not work. Oh my god! Okay. This is also something I was really proud of. The redone of the cover of the Crown of the Kobold King looks like 2e Kobold. It does not look like that old 1e feel. And getting it to 2nd edition, I've played that one back in 1st edition. It was so much fun. And it's one of the adventures that really brought me into it. And I'm so glad that it's coming to 2nd edition.
I haven't heard of this at all. What's your quick pitch on the premise of it? What is it?
If I remember correctly, some kids get kidnapped. Some kobolds kidnap something. They're ruled by obviously the Kobold King, and you have to go through a dungeon to you have to kind of defeat the kobolds, and then you get the Kobold King crown and all that stuff. I can't give you like a full pitch because mine was also modified per game.
Yeah.
No, mine was also modified per game because we played the Falcon's Hollow adventure like right before this, and my GM tied the two together. Even though those are two very separate adventures.
Yeah. I like tying adventures together. I always think that's interesting. Look at this fantastic artwork. Ready to cause some trouble.
You can be a kobold now. Kobolds are not just an enemy.
You can be a kobold now. Yeah.
Like they were when we first did Pathfinder back.
I guess I don't know the lore of Pathfinder 1e kobolds. I would be interested to learn more about that. In chat, let me know all your best PF1E kobold lore. I know they want to be dragons. They're not. They want to be dragons.
I really like that aspect
arguably
of
cooler.
them.
Yeah.
I think the very first free RPG day back in the day. So we've updated that adventure. Here's a look at an updated version of Dead.
So it looks like they're going back to a lot of these 1e adventures and bringing them to 2nd edition, which I think is
the meme
image.
Move. This is the meme image in the bottom left.
So if you want to play this as part of the ongoing,
I've seen some. I'm sorry to interrupt. I've just seen some good memes about this.
I haven't seen any of these memes. You gotta show me them when stream ends.
That face on the bottom left is.
It's definitely memeable.
Over the course of 128 pages, this will take you from 1st to 6th level. And like I said, it's a featured.
So we were talking earlier. I was talking with my regular weekly group about these 3-book APs, and I'm curious in chat, what's your opinion on the 3-book APs versus the 6-book APs? We've only done 6-book APs in my group so far, but we're excited for the idea of the 3-book APs because you could just get through them faster. You can explore concepts and premises faster on shorter time spans, and also dive into levels that you're most interested in.
So
I have my Knights of Last book. Ooh, sorry, go ahead.
No. Just kind of like building off what you said is I've primarily been running 3 APs. Like even back in first edition, I ended Iron Gods after the 3rd adventure, not because I wanted to end the story, it was because my group fell apart. But I'm running Outlaws of Alkenstar. I've run Fist of the Ruby Phoenix. Those are both 3 APs, and it's so great. Like feeling the story coming to an end.
Yeah.
And I don't want to speak ill of Paizo writing because I still think it's some of the like best fantasy writing, but I think a lot of common criticism I've seen is that by the time you get to book 6, the original concept was like either lost or like a lot
That's
of
fair.
key NPCs that were prevalent like start fading away, and they wanted to stay close to them. Obviously, this is something your GM can do and all that, but I think having 3 APs gives you less like worry about dedication in terms of like spending money. Oh, okay. You gotta tell me when it hits. I gotta know this.
It's not going to come up. It's going to be hidden in the travel guide somewhere. All I will say is there is maybe, I don't know, maybe a piece of dd8 hidden in the Lost Omens travel guide. We'll see if it's in there. I haven't
All right,
gotten any
chat. What is it?
confirmation of
We gotta theorize it. I think it's
All
a
you have to ask
Pierogi
yourself
power.
is if someone were making a travel guide to the Lost Omens series, who would that be? And maybe why would they or it appear in the travel guide? Who knows? We'll see. Ooh.
It turns out Osiris just needed to jump into the Lost Omens line instead of making animated videos.
Did you see that one of them shed short sleeve long jacket? Ooh, close to a short skirt and a short sleeve long jacket. Ooh, so close. I love this.
So good. I will fully admit to that.
Giving the fans what they want here with some fashion notes. All right, no one. I've never heard anybody requesting this, but it turns out I absolutely needed some fashion notes on Galarian. Absolutely.
Look, I have no fashion sense now. Like every time I go to stream, it's just a t-shirt and occasionally a jacket. I am more
You
than
don't
happy
have
to
a parasol like this person over here on the right? You don't carry a light gray parasol with you at all times to keep out the sunlight? Oh, you're not keeping up with Galarian fashion. I don't know.
I think I'm gonna start taking my tips from the Lost Omens travel guide if this is what we're getting. Because to be honest, if I could look anything close to any of the 4 on this screen right now, like especially this outfit, like alone, I
ruffled shirts, killer coat. Keeping clean. This is why I practiced these tongue twisters before we started. Right here, lost lace found, royal runes. Oh yeah, I see. Fashion in Galarian is it's very important to have alliteration in your fashion. That seems to be the most important aspect. All right, keep it rolling. I want to see more. Oh yeah. Recipes. Interesting. Whoa, this is a very different approach.
I didn't see this.
Presenting information. This appeals to me. I like short bits of information. I love the Moange Expanse book, but it's got a lot of dense, heavy, long paragraphs worth of information that make it sometimes hard to process. I find the smaller bits of information can sometimes be easier for me, not for everyone, but just for me.
So I want to. Well, I paused the video real quick because I want to get not only your opinion but chat's opinion. Eric just mentioned that they're talking about sports in the Lost Omens line. Yes, what do you think that is going to look like? Like, obviously, yeah, sports and Pathfinder players are like a perfect 1-to-1 correlation.
Oh,
here.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
But yeah, what do you think about seeing sports? Do you think we're gonna get like an actual like sports mechanic potentially?
That would be cool. Yeah. If I'm curious if there would be like a national pastime sport of Galarian, and maybe mechanics for that would be really interesting.
How to play lacrosse with magic.
Yeah, what would that look like? What would sports look like in general with magic as an option?
Games of chance, pretty awesome.
Of
course, lots of different items.
Ooh, I didn't even see some of this. I don't know the name of this dish over here, but I kind of want to eat that.
want it in my mouth right now. I've heard of this Impossible Lands. I'm excited to see what.
So,
Oof.
can you catch me up real quick on the Impossible Lands? That's like
I
where
couldn't.
Geb is. That's like where, isn't it like south of Absalom? I think so.
We need Victoria here to catch us up with the
Yeah,
lore
I
because
know.
I'm sadly not a lore person.
Can we get Victoria on call, please?
Let's call her up real quick. We'll bring her on.
Oh yeah, they're totally
I'm sure
not
she would
busy.
have a lot to say.
To the north and to the south, things get weirder. Things get higher.
I love this cover. It's so
Okay. Oh, it's very evocative.
Let's talk a little bit about what's in this book. We are going to give you
oh, that is gorgeous.
provides rules options as well as magic.
I hope this is like Ryerson or something like that. Ryerson? I don't know.
Asian weapons for Jalmaray and so on. There's information on a host of rain gods and a bestiary of nukes that are similar to this land. If you've
Okay, hold on.
Art is beautiful.
I need this as my animal companion. Look at this thing.
Oh, yeah. I want it.
Oh my god! This is the shifter from first edition. That's the iconic.
No way. All right, that's cool. Nice catch.
How did I watch a good chunk of this keynote and not pick up on this?
A big meta region.
That is so cool.
Deep into this. This thing is 334 pages.
Sorry, no, that's not the shifter. That's the psychic. I'm sorry. Still, cool. That is so cool.
Manuel mentions in chat there needs to be a rat folk sport that uses a rat folk with the feet that makes them a ball. Rat ball.
Yes.
Just
yes.
spiking little rat balls around. They jump out. I would be all for that.
You have to queue up your team, and they all form like little balls to throw at it.
Oh, Luigi Lisa here mentions in chat that's Rivani, the PF1 iconic psychic.
Yeah,
nice.
Okay, Chad, I get it. I was wrong.
Close enough.
I got too excited. What is that monster in the background? That is so cool.
Ooh.
Oh my god.
I'm really glad to see that. Yeah, I'm glad to see they've been leaning into the quality of the art here because I mean, obviously I'm biased. We do an art-based channel, but they've been leaning into these really quality illustrations lately, and I think it's working out for them very well. I think that's what's going to set them apart from. I mean, 5e is great, sure, but like honestly, this art is significantly better, I think, and it's cool to see that they're continuing down this tradition of quality art.
Oh, hold on. No, I jumped a little too far on the gun over here. I wanted to talk about this. So we're getting at least 6 new ancestries in this. And I need to know, and I saw people in the Deadly D8 server talking about this. And if you have not joined the Deadly D8 server, you're missing out. But it's in the description. Come say hi. But this, I guess, the only way I could describe it is like slug.
Idea what that is. Yeah,
it's so cool.
Chat, does anyone know what that is?
Yeah, what is that? Oh yeah.
The thing in the middle also, the person in the middle also, not a Leshies. I saw in our Discord actually someone mentioned what the ancestry might be. Gorin, okay.
Yeah, they are. I would almost classify them as like tree people. Almost. They're. I would call them the hobgoblin of the Leshy group. Like they're not the small little goblins. They're the bigger sides. But the Vishyanka coming back as the monkey. I love anthropomorphic like characters coming to life only because I can then play Kung Fu Panda in my Pathfinder games. And
of course,
so
the most important.
So this book has now given me Viper and Monkey, and I think that's so great. But getting like snake folk to come in, the Naga and the Nagaji. Thank you, Eric.
And this one here on the right, the Kashrishi.
Manuel in chat mentions that I love when they use iconics in the art. I actually really agree with that, and I feel like it plays a very important part to kind of set the through line for all of the different books they put out. When we see the iconics in these different settings, there's just something that happens about that with it feels more, it centers us we recognize these characters, we see them in these different settings, and it kind of helps us understand them better. And I do hope they continue that as well, because it definitely helps at least me understand the settings a little better when I see the iconics and, something recognizable in what might otherwise be a foreign area.
So I wanted to get your opinion because I saw Twitter was freaking out about this, and I freaked out about this. But the thing on the right is a psychic rhino ancestry,
Interesting. Okay.
and I think that's so cool.
Yeah. I would love some more tanky ancestries. We have the goblin who is, oh boy, has some real tanky ancestry feats in there. I imagine a rhino ancestry would as well. I'd be interested to see what that looks like and mechanically how they might express a rhino humanoid.
A little bit short on time, so I'm just going to kind of rifle through some of the rest of this stuff.
All right, so we got our little special Lost Omens. I'm absolutely excited. I don't think I'm gonna get them, in all honesty. I hope other people do, but it's purely because of budget, not because I'm not saying like don't go out and go get it. I'm just like I personally can't afford it on my current salary.
The special editions make me laugh because they're obviously marketed towards a very certain subsegment of the player base.
I just like the cover
not
art.
Me. I love the cover art. Some people, it's really important for them to have, similarity between all of the books or some kind of thing to tie them together. But me, I just want whatever the awesome art is that they put together. Also, I destroy my books, so it'd probably be best if I wasn't buying these fancy versions that I will inevitably destroy. I destroy them out of love, mostly. Wow,
they are every time. And we're finally getting We're finally getting Kingmaker.
I was just talking about this with my group. Yes.
Oh my god. I'm so
that's
glad.
A big announcement. Yeah. People want this, and it's interesting because I was just talking with my weekly group about this, and I think the fantasy of building a kingdom and being a leader to troops and groups and a spokesperson for a larger area is a very interesting concept. It's not always something that I'm super interested in, but I think there are elements of it that you could absolutely dive into depending on what your group is most interested in. So, whoa, this art, I love it.
Do you think we're gonna get an Owlcat game, but it's centered in 2E instead of the first edition one?
I hope so. I doubt. It's going to take a little while.
Oh,
yes is my answer to that, but it's going to take a little while.
Okay, I will fully admit, I've read through Module 1. I'm running it with a few friends.
Nice.
Aubrey from Goblins and Gays, if you ever see this, I'm coming for your character. But this is some truly great writing. I loved the first one. I had so much fun reading it. I started this Friday. Next Friday. I'm inside. Cactus
10,000 needles. We got some Final Fantasy 10,000 needles happening right there. Oh, definitely. It definitely deal just like Final Fantasy. I'm sure it will deal 1,000 damage regardless of enemy's defense. That's totally balanced. Now I've heard of Bloodlords. I haven't heard too much about it.
It's undead based, and I like that Paizo is going in this route of not your typical A fantasy adventures. Like in 1E, we kind of had a lot of those. These are now getting into weirder territories, but like I'm all here for it.
Here's some of the cool characters there. And then let's talk.
Yeah, you could tell that as they were diving into the investigative plot lines, there was a lot of things they wanted to establish first. So as the investigator came out, we got all these cool investigator items. And we can see here as they're putting out more and more kind of investigative APs, they had to establish that baseline first before they could jump into these. But I think for groups that are interested in this kind of adventure, there's a lot of tools at your disposal to really make these fun.
I'm super looking forward to Gatewalkers only because an X-Files vibe in Pathfinder is something I've always thought was cool. And
of course,
seeing it come to life.
So the Ruby Phoenix.
I will rep this. I'm half tempted to pause it just so I can go on a mini tirade, but I will always point to Fist of the Ruby Phoenix being the I think, the turning point of second edition APs.
Yes, I agree with
Because
this.
this was the first time we've gotten a 3-module one, and not only that, it was so broad concept that we weren't used to at that point, I would say. That I think this
it was
literally
innovative
changed it.
in that it wasn't afraid to embrace the fantastical element of
It
the
wasn't
game,
afraid to
which
get weird, which is what I thought was really cool.
thank you. That's a better. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's something Pathfinder should always be leading into,
Yes,
and I think that's what
agree.
the fan base, like, chat, let us know how silly you want your Pathfinder games, but mine get pretty crazy.
1 out of 10. What does everybody
Yeah.
want? Like, in the silliness / fantastical ratio, 1 to 10, what's everybody in chat want? I feel like we're gonna be biased being Deadly D8, but I'd love to see what everyone is interested in. Ooh.
We gotta
Oh,
play
this
this
is
at some point.
Yeah.
We got.
The
I'm
firefight,
hoping it
yeah.
comes to an online VTT or something like that, because let's grab some of our streaming friends and let's run it. All right, so that's the end of the keynote, and then we're gonna take a quick little break. But before we do that, Eli, I gotta know what's going through your head right now. We just finished up what
much.
expectedly is the 2023 line almost. I'm like I said, I still think they're saving a lot for Gen Con, because that's like their big event. I mean, obviously PaizoCon's important, but this is still monumentous. I'm just wondering what's going through your head as we've seen all of this stuff. Where do you kind of start seeing Paizo going forward with Pathfinder?
Yeah, I mean, we see that they're branching out to kind of fit all the different elements of their player base right now. The different kinds of stories that we want to tell are slowly but surely being addressed. We started out with these kind of broad overarching I'm blanking right now. The first AP that they put out was that I've played all
Age
6
of
books
Ashes?
of. It's called Age of Ashes. It was just a catch-all, adventure story that would kind of apply and appeal to a broad range of player bases. And now we're seeing, as they're putting out more and more books, we're narrowing that field a little bit more and more as we're going to, if you want to play an investigative book, here you go. If you want to play a fantastical Dragon Ball Z Budokai tournament book, here it is. If you want to play, a campaign that's focused on overcoming zombies as, clerics and champions, we get that. We get the Knights of Last Wall, blah, blah, blah. I'm very interested to see what elements they continue to highlight in terms of the Galarian world as a whole, but also how they approach the different elements of gameplay. Something I've mentioned again, and I've mentioned it in previous podcasts, is campaigns like the Mwangi Expanse. I mean, we got gameplay that was very narratively focused. There's a fair amount of combat in the Strength of Thousands AP, but as a whole, it's a lot more narratively focused than other APs, and I think that applies to a certain player base to a higher degree than typical APs that we've seen in the past. I'm curious to see how they continue to develop and more broadly encompass the different interests of their player base as a whole. Does that make sense? I know that was very wordy.
No, that definitely makes sense. They're kind of hitting all bases, essentially, of play.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think the more they kind of they cast their net in terms of different kinds of situations and settings, the more that eventually they'll hit the spot for whatever their certain player bases might be. There's a lot of people that play Pathfinder 2e. What do they want out of the game? That's going to look a little different to every person who's asking themselves that question. And hopefully the more content we get, which, I mean, we've seen the pace at which they're putting out content as compared to like Wizards of the Coast and 5e or just really any other publisher is much more rapid. And hopefully the payoff is that they're able to catch a wider player base as they cast these nets with different genres. And I want to see more of that. I want to see what the players as a whole react to, what they like, what they don't like, and how that's going to shape the content that Paizo releases moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that now that Paizo's even dipping into the 5e pool of players, we're gonna start seeing more and more
Yeah,
integration of I mean I don't want to get into like the whole edition war debate. I to be honest it's way too late at night to go into the full nuance of it all.
Don't have the
But
energy for it.
yeah. I think that because they're doing this, they're showing people, okay, look, Paizo's got it in terms of writing. And I think that's been very true since first edition, even because I've played Reign of Winter, I've played Iron Gods, both in first edition, and I thought they were brilliantly written. And I've only heard good things about like Hell's Rebels and Hell's Vengeance, and so seeing Paizo just fully going in on like capitalizing as much of the TTRPG space as possible, I think it is something that's incredible. And I'm really, really proud to like see them moving in that direction.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's move on to this next video. I want to keep things going, but I'm with you 100% there for sure. Let me see. Let me check chat here.
All right. You say
Manual
hi to
says for
chat.
me the silliest of my campaigns is a 12 out of 10. Creative Burst says one adventure they thought for the first adventure was something of a race across Galarian.
That
And
was
then
kind of what Age of
Primarch
Ashes
Star
was,
says
though.
yeah, no, for real. Yeah. And Age of Ashes, a lot of people don't understand this, I feel like, is Age of Ashes was kind of a tour de force of all of the different mechanics that Pathfinder 2 has, as well as obviously the different settings. It was just kind of a real run through of everything. And I think that appealed to a lot of people, and also a lot of people, it wasn't exactly what they were looking for. It felt disconnected. I didn't feel that. I liked getting a little bit, especially as as overall a new player. I liked seeing all the different locations that exist within Galarian, and there's a little bit of all the different mechanics built in there. There's even a lot of mechanics that had not yet been officially released, built into Age of Ashes secretly. That was interesting. What comes to mind is the infiltration mechanic. I know was in Age of Ashes even before it was officially called the infiltration mechanic. So looking back, it might feel a little dated to some folks, but as a whole, I think it presented a lot of the ideas that are central to Pathfinder 2e in a really palpable and playable way.
Yeah, and like going off that a little bit. I did not make it through all six. I will fully admit that. I've only made it through two of the six. But even in the second one, like I won't say the name of the NPC, but it's a particular favorite of mine that introduced like a potential look at what firearms could have been.
Yes.
In a certain temple setting. If anyone's played Age of Ashes, they've known.
I don't know that.
I
don't remember this guy's name beyond Asshole Guy, as he was known in our group. Ah, yes, Asshole Guy.
Yeah, it's a very good descriptor of them. Gerhard, he is an interesting character. If you're currently playing through Age of Ashes, please make it to that section in book 2. It is so worth it. I laughed the entire time he was on.
Yeah, I've heard so many different stories of groups loving or hating this person, but he has a strong personality for sure.
He does.
And does introduce early firearms mechanics before they officially existed in
his
Guns
reflexes,
which is interesting. I'm sure history will reflect very differently on this over time, but let it be known that the Age of Ashes really did introduce a lot of mechanics in cool and innovative ways. All right, let's keep going. Next video.
All right, declassifying the archive.
For our point of view character, the writer behind the book, and he's so cool.
Can I get a smidge more volume on this? I don't know if it's just coming through my.
And yeah, he's a very interesting character with secrets of his own and stuff, and I'm excited for you all to meet him.
Yeah.
Oh no, your camera froze. There we are.
It's really cool and sort of in the tradition of books like the one Logan did a lot with that just came out with Book of the Dead, for instance.
Yeah,
I just want Arcadia to be talked about more. I thought Guns and Gears did a pretty good job covering Arcadia, but I would definitely agree that a Lost Omen's Arcadia book would be really interesting to talk about.
Two of the big things that
Absolutely.
people know are the two new classes. So we have first off we have
What a
Psychic,
strong panel
and
of
we have
people, by the way.
and
Just
and
all
Oh
of them
yeah.
are
Oh,
great.
real winners here. Absolutely.
a little bit.
Wow.
Oh, that is
I
so
really
I know. It's
cool.
so good.
I think it's just
I kind of was worried that this stream was gonna be 90% of, oh, that's cool.
so
Okay, next thing.
No. We had the opposite. We're just talking over everything that they
Yeah.
say. It's fine. It's fine.
I love seeing this like almost occult like book and it's so
Well, yeah, absolutely. A
interesting.
gold book for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chat, you know what, chat? I'm curious to see what were some interesting things about today's PaizoCon that maybe we didn't get to hit so far in this review. You know, what were some topics that were covered in chat that maybe we were blathering on about while they were discussing, or really stood out to you that you want to hear more about? Let us know. Let us know in the comments or in chat.
They are a occult spellcaster. I think we have a picture of the new iconic here. If some of you were at the keynote, I think you might have gotten a look at him earlier.
Oh boy.
There we go.
Once
Oh,
again,
this is the new
Wayne
iconic.
Reynolds. I can't even
I'm
with
so
this
glad they
guy
kept him around.
anymore.
So good.
He is an elf.
It's stylized, and I get that it's a little divisive, but so good. The use of color, the gadgets. There's so many
so
items on the
dynamic.
characters. Yeah, the line work is very. I love the line work.
Still an occult caster, and they still have this
Occult
focus
caster.
on sort of where a lot of classes have maybe a choice that you make, such as a wizard's thesis or
Manuel couldn't see anything from PaizoCon this year. Well, glad that you're here and stream with us, and you get to
with
preview.
other idiots who haven't seen any of the PaizoCon. Well, no, James saw more than me. I was
this
working. I
panel.
think I didn't mention this. I was working during most of this, sadly. But this is my catch up. So Psychic, James, let me ask you this maybe. What design space does Psychic fill? I know that a lot of people like the idea of playing a psychic character, but from a design space, what does it fill?
I think that in a mechanical space, when thinking about psychics, people want this kind of the power comes within, and I think that Sorcerer semi does it, but not to the same extent of like I want to be a Jedi, where like I'm using my mental powers. People really like psionics. Like I know it took 5e like
you've been a fan of psionics for a long time.
Oh, I have.
I remember since the very start you've been.
I was personally excited for Psychic because I like this kind of philosophy, I guess, of class design and seeing each individual roles I can play. Not only my love of Star Wars, let's just throw that completely out there first. Like the Force has always been a thing I wish I could do. I would walk up to store doors and I would like, whoo, and the automatic doors will open. But I think what Paizo did with the Psychic and that we're seeing on screen right now is the subconscious versus conscious mind. I thought this was something that was super unique because if I was designing Psychic, I probably wouldn't have gone this route. And seeing a 2 subclass system come back like Wizard did is something that just it blows my mind from as somebody who writes 2e content like professionally. This was really interesting. Like I've taken Psych 101. I know there's a subconscious and conscious mind. Look at this. Look at this big brain
Psych
over
101 is all you need to understand the psychic class. Yes, a lot of crossover there. All right, but I want to hear them talk about it just a smidge. One sec.
Either kind of slow things, either kind of cool things or burn them. It's your very kind of energy-based one. Tangible Dream, which is
so they have 2 main paths that you can take if you focus on the subconscious or the conscious mind.
Or blades or bubbles, and and Unbound Step, which has to do with teleportation, phasing, space bending.
I'm gonna guess these are all like focus spells that you can cast.
I'm gonna guess they're
a lot
focus
of the
spells and
classes,
amps.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
a total of 24 you can make just with these adjustments, not even bringing in your feats and that kind of thing.
24 possible options with just the conscious mind alone.
And your conscious mind will give you all
Wow.
of your spells and your special cantrips and that kind of thing. So
Okay, hold on. Before they go on further, I thought something just because the designer mind in me is always going off whenever I'm talking Pathfinder or mechanics here.
Yeah.
But I thought something that was super interesting, and I really, really want to actually hear chat's opinion on this as well as yours, Eli, of the subconscious mind doesn't choose the whatever spellcasting tradition it is. It's the conscious mind that does. And so I thought a really interesting thing with that being kind of this really I haven't seen the class yet, so this is 1000% pure speculation, but what do you think about it not being an active choice? Like, obviously you're going to cast off the occult, but would you like to see dynamicism between your subconscious and your conscious mind being semi-linked? Because if I was designing this, obviously I'm not James Case, I'm not Avi Cool. They're both way too cool to come talk to me, which is not true. I've talked about them, but still, they're both amazing people. But I would actually have the conscious mind affect your subconscious mind, and that's how it would run. But I would love to hear your opinion on that particular design space of your particular adeptness is your conscious, but then your subconscious mind determines your key ability score and all that stuff. What is your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I can't make a straight out statement on it until I really take a dive into the class. I've only seen a tiny bit in between, when we've been talking here, but I think the idea of balancing these elements of your character that you can control versus cannot control is really interesting from a design space. Who knows what the subconscious versus what was the other one? Subconscious and what mind?
Conscious and subconscious mind.
Conscious and subconscious mind. I'm curious to see what that branches out to, but honestly, I need to hear more about each of them until I really know what they represent from a mechanical perspective.
So I know we were kind of talking over it a little bit, but the conscious mind determines what you can physically do, like create elemental stuff or create barriers or stuff like that. I'm actually am more interested in the subconscious mind than I am the conscious one, but purely just because my designer brain is just going, how does this work? How does this work? I need to know. I need to know now.
But I imagine we'll get more details. I imagine we'll get more details as this goes. But no comments yet until I see the actual mechanical representation of that.
Class that kind of unleashes the unknown. They use these unknown powers. Our second class is one that is more about studying it. And for this, I think I'm going to turn things over.
What a fan favorite class, by the way. I've not seen a more positive reception of a class ever.
Well, I mean, look, Paizo built this gigantic, very well established system of cool magical items, and to have a class that can capitalize on those, that's gonna be great. I want to listen to this a little bit. Let me see what they have to say. Logan, my boy.
Of their knowledge and use that against their enemies, and there are different ways that they do that, but a lot of it is I found just the right thing to fight this demon, so I pull out this sliver of weird stuff I picked up 3 years ago in a market in Absalom and combine it with this rare herb that I harvested this morning to make the perfect antidote to fight off this monster. They still have that was kind of the feel in the playtest, and that's still preserved in the final one. So most of what we changed was kind of to make it run a little better and play a little better at the table, and to kind of keep expanding on things. The main thing here is, and you can see from the iconic, which I'll have Avi talk about in just a moment here, that it's just you can just be completely loaded up with stuff. Yeah, there you go. There's Mios. They're wearing, I mean, they look like a tank basically.
See, I love this. As an item nerd, I like having items be a feature of your class and a focus. Because for people who care about that, which isn't everybody, but is the me's of the world, having a way to mechanically express that and focus on it is nice, you know?
Looking at chat, based on 1E and on the playtest version, the subconscious mind determines the ability score and the spell components you have. That's kind of interesting. I haven't. It's been a while since I've read the playtest material for Psychic. I will fully admit to that.
I will also admit that I haven't looked at the playtest Psychic at all. I haven't had the time, but I'm interested to learn more. A lot of times it ends up changing so much between the playtest versions, so I don't always dive into them as much as I'd like to. But you know, it's cool to see that transformation and what sticks and what doesn't.
Character growing up in this environment where everything is pretty sinister all the time. And so Mios gets into a near-death experience that will set them on the road to becoming a thaumaturge by the way that they save themselves. So using different implements, different cures for protecting themselves makes them realize that they have this power to.
You know who I think would do a great job, and I would love to see their take on this, is Untested Gaming. Because I'm really curious about what kind of characters in media that would absolutely cover this, like, niche. Because, like, I'm thinking about it, I have a few in mind, but probably not as much as their giant knowledge and repertoire of media compared to me over here.
Friend of the show, Untested Gaming, go check out their channel. They're great. I've not seen a better Pathfinder 2e focused build channel than Untested Gaming so far.
Yeah, and we had them over here like a month or two ago, and they were so much fun to talk with.
This is a character
Absolutely.
It's like, oh, we need somebody covered in gear, and we have Wayne Reynolds doing our art. I think we got this.
I think he'll manage. Yeah. Yeah. So Mios's implement, which you can see in that image, is the lantern, but there's a bunch of other implements as well. Logan, do you want to kind of?
I read a little bit of the lantern from the playtest, and you can use it to heal, I think, between
No, that's the
turns,
goblet.
right?
The chalice is
I'm
the
sorry,
one that
yes,
you could
yes,
drink from.
the
And
chalice, yes, to heal. Oh, so cool. That, I mean, how are you going to make a better tank than someone that can heal every turn or frequently? You know,
so
that's
this is
great.
the thing, though. This is what I think really appeals to the Pathfinder base about Thaumaturge, is that it covers every single style of play that we've always
Yes.
wanted to play.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
you could have a more spellcasting route. You can be a healing route. You could be in a tank route. Like, I want to know what Regalia is. Like, I need to know where that whole subclass is going. And it's so cool to see all of these play styles essentially coalesce into one class.
Now, this is really forward-looking statement, but my guess is that Thaumaturge is going to be a very high skill ceiling class, similar to the Alchemist, where I think people might be a little put off by it at first, but they'll see as the class develops and people make more builds for it, they're going to be impressed by what it can actually do. That's pure speculation, but that's my guess right now.
Yeah, I don't have time to go over my love of Alchemists versus my fellow designer spaces of not fully loving the Alchemist. I think it's still a great class. I will always defend it, but I think Thaumaturge gives off that Alchemist vibe as well. I think it's going to initially read as a difficult class, but I think, like everything Pathfinder 2nd Edition, the more you play it, it just clicks. And then you've all of a sudden, like, mastered the system. And I think that's what Thaumaturge is going to be like. It's going to read as difficult and then play it and like, oh, it's not so bad. Like, Oracle and Magus are my two ones I point to that.
Yeah, it's going to reward system mastery, right? The better you understand the game, the better it's going to play. That's my guess.
I also think putting weaknesses on characters is something I've always thought would be really cool. And I would like to see a Thaumaturge Alchemist build, like, or Talisman Dabbler. Something that really kind of can capitalize off of the weakness system, because I
Yeah.
love that if you just deal 1 point of damage on that weakness, it just automatically ramps up to whatever the number is on plus the additional like 1 point of damage, and forcing that on monsters
Yeah.
has always been something I loved about the Alchemist. Even when you miss, you still do damage. Like,
Yeah, people really undervalue how much that actually means. You don't realize how many attacks you miss. And also just the fact that you can make multiple attacks, and as long as you don't crit fail on that attack, you still deal splash damage. That's huge. Plus the fact that you can weakness target is huge. People miss out on that about casters as a whole also. They're like, oh, casters aren't as powerful as marshals. But the fact that casters can weakness target and damage via a slew of different damage types means a lot from a mechanical perspective, and people don't always appreciate that, but it's a truism. It's true.
so this is
Ooh,
the
stolen case files.
GM's side of this book of case files, and I know what's in this. I am super
Heard of it.
excited to see your reactions to this because I also know 1 or 2 people who worked on this book,
Okay.
and I can only say this because they confirmed it on Twitter what sections they wrote specifically, and I'm super interested because I know what is this, 8 of them here, and I'm personally gonna admit temporal anomalies is where I'm gonna immediately flip to first, only because I'm a giant Doctor Who fan. I'm literally binge watching Doctor Who again in my meantime while I set up Eldritch Osiris games, and so like I'm already on like season 3 of Doctor Who, the rewatch at least. But yeah, Chronomancy has always been a fan of mine, and seeing it in TUI officially it's gonna be fun.
Oh,
I promise I won't do any product plug of mine.
You're allowed.
All right, if you happen to know that if you go to the pre-COD class, which you currently can find on PathfinderInfinite.com, or go to
Wow,
Eldritch
cool.
Osiris Stream. Oh my God.
Whoa.
EldritchOsirisGames.com. You can find all of our great products. And if you go to Pathfinder Infinite right now, we're doing 2 mega bundles. And I think we're going to do 1 final mega bundle tomorrow to get all of our content. But I want to talk about this owlbear.
I would
That-
absolutely love to.
Oh, that's a creepy
Cryptids
owlbear.
are very near and dear to my heart.
I love me some cryptids. Monster of the week.
Yeah, I got Monster of the Week vibes from this as well. I was really excited.
I wanted to tell a little sort of a little anecdote from when we were like brainstorming Dark Archive, and kind of get to, and this will also share some stuff about like the sort of idea of the book overall as well. But you know, there's so many things in the Pathfinder setting. There's so many pieces of cataloged magic and different planes of existence and all of these various things. And none of these things are, they might be uncommon, they might be rare, but they're not unheard of. They're not inexplicable. And so
Yeah.
when we sat down to
The uncommon and the rare tag is a point of a lot of disparity between the Pathfinder 2e fan base, and I really wish they would make a more official statement on what those things means, because I know what uncommon and rare means, and we've talked about this on the show before, that it really just means ask your GM.
Ask your
and make
GM.
sure
That's what
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I
But
thought
they don't
it was
explicitly define
I thought it
that,
was
yeah.
expressly said
Well,
in.
yeah,
I thought in the
kinda.
core rulebook when they were defining traits, they're like uncommon means like go ask your GM, but they're also a little harder to find. And like rare is like GMs. This is like stronger than most. Like it's not game breaking.
Well, it's
but,
not
like,
always. It's not always stronger than most. It's often just requires more GM buy-in. Any illusion is a good. Well, I don't know if all the illusions are rare, but like illusions require the GM to understand the illusion system, which is a little complicated. So, you know, they sometimes have the rare tag to reflect that, and other rare things are just like, you know, if you're gonna have the amnesiac background, that's gonna really impact what your gameplay looks like from the GM's perspective. So they throw in the rare tag just to be like, hey, check with your GM about this, and that's all it means.
Yeah, I think
We'll get into this
uncommon
later, but yeah.
is kind of this ask your GM, but it's not gonna like change your game. Rare and unique are like this could potentially shift how
change
your
the game.
game
Yeah.
feels. It's not game breaking in terms of mechanical wise, but it's narrative changing. I think that's kind of the way to describe it.
Yeah, I agree.
If we can go up really quickly, it's so good. Can I want to say the name of this thing, if that's quite all right.
Yeah, go for it.
This is the rumored owl bear. It's not just an owl bear. It's a rumor of an owl bear. And
The rumor of an owl bear.
various different
That
kinds of like cryptid
owl bear with glowing
Yeah.
eyes will scare me.
that we've whipped up here.
Manual in chat makes a good point here. Some rare options are just rare because they don't make much sense in other settings besides Galarian, like the Conrasu, and that's true. Same for, I mean, like a lot of the guns and gear content is rare because if you want to have guns in your game, like boom, here you go. But if not, you have that tag to kind of come back to say, well, you know, this is rare, this is uncommon. I don't know if I want to include it in my game, but it gives you the option. It gives the GM a little fallback, and it gives the players a fallback as well, which I think is important.
It's out there somewhere. Very spooky.
Yeah, this is great.
Very spooky.
So that's how we're gonna enter the case files. Logan, do you want to take the next one?
Sure. The next case file is Secret Societies. And this
Secret
one
societies.
starts out telling you kind of the general idea of why secret societies exist and their structure, and then goes into some specific ones that are on the world of Galarian. A lot of those are ones that you've heard about before in first edition or other products, and then there's some new stuff in there
There's
as well.
some particular settings I think secret societies would be interesting to call back to. I know that Maginamar, I hope I'm saying that right, Victoria is going to see this VOD, and they're going to lose it with how much I butcher all of these setting names. But they have a particular interesting clasp system, or like, you know, like a thieves guild, I guess, would be another term for it. And I think I'm purely speculating here, but I think it would be really cool seeing the secret society stuff like reflect on that kind of deal.
Kind of like spycraft items. There's a lot of like self-destructing notes and ink that disappears, false bottom mugs, that kind of thing. Stuff that you can use to communicate or identify yourself as a secret society member. Speaking of which, we have a section on getting membership into a secret society. We have services that you can get from secret societies. So there's a lot of stuff that shows, if this is a communal structure that you're getting involved with, here's what it can do for you.
That is so cool.
Finally, I can live my dream of being in a secret society. I'm cool enough to be in a secret society.
Little did they know about our little Pathfinder 2e creator secret society that all of us just secretly go into. I won't say anything about
James, it's not secret if you talk about it on stream.
What do you mean? I shouldn't mention the red dragon we have lying around, or
they can't know about the red dragon.
But they don't know about Bob, so it's okay.
Yeah, I think we have art here.
Oh my god!
I love that art.
Yeah, tapping into the history of this item. Yeah, so this is
A
a
blood axe?
option for people who aren't necessarily spellcasters.
It's a bloody axe.
But can develop these techniques through training and maybe some secret society shenanigans, so that they can get a little bit of occultism in their life.
Oh my god, that is so interesting.
The cover authors on this book, along with myself and Mark Schechter, did.
Manuel says in chat, I'm currently playing a game of a French TTRPG called Night, where I'm playing a 70-year-old dude who is a member of a secret society but can't remember which one, but has to make people join it. I haven't heard of this. I want to learn more about this TTRPG, Manuel. Any good mechanics that you would shout out?
To deal with the paranormal, and the next case file is the exact opposite of that. The next one we have is deviant abilities. These are supernatural powers that are not, that are not classical magic. They're not blessed by a deity. They're not even. You have magical blood from like an ancestor. This is just you walked by a weird monolith and now you can do some stuff. I think we have a good picture here, kind of illustrating.
You walked by a monolith and now you can do some stuff. That's what you look like. Yes, yeah.
Oh my god.
Thing you can use in your campaign.
I don't know if this is an art style choice, but Valeros looks like slightly like
They
anatomical.
Oh, yes, I
Like,
didn't
he
even
looks
realize that was
semi-robotic.
Valeros. Yes, yeah, I didn't realize it was him. Yeah. Very. Is it? Yeah, right.
It's semi-robot. No, because like compare it to the I don't remember the investigator's name, but like compare it. The art styles are too like one looks distinctly like a human, and the other one, I wouldn't say there's like.
Well, he's got some magic going on him.
Yeah, I
There's some
know.
weirdness.
I like it.
He joined
mean,
a secret society of some sort. That's what happens.
I think if you were to run Tomb of Annihilation 5e into second edition, I think this like that particular like subsystem would work really well in it.
We want to have the thing where we bleed out the nose a little bit when we use our powers.
Luigi says in chat, Stranger Things vibes. I agree for sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and what does Stranger Things represent? It is that kind of X-Files-y, paranormal-y vibe that a lot of people want out of their TTRPG games. And I think that's what the Dark Archives is trying to present to players, which is to that point I was talking about earlier about these different kind of genres and presenting settings and mechanics to help players better represent the kind of games they want to play. I feel like that's what Dark Archives is doing, is presenting that paranormal, kind of gameplay that players might be looking for, hopefully. So my hope is that the more people get into Pathfinder 2e, the more they take a step back, look at all of the books that are presented and are available to them, and pick the kinds of settings and stories that they are most interested in and dive into those. I mean, Galarian has always been a kitchen sink kind of setting, where it's got a little bit of everything for everybody. And I want to see more of that and which ones they're focusing on. Got some Avi, friend of the show.
Oh yeah, Avi, they're totally cool. Every time I've had an interaction with Avi, they have been nothing but like a wellspring of like pure creativity, and they are like if you don't follow them on Twitter to get their bear
Twitter.
Count,
so good on Twitter. Yes.
Okay, this is what I really wanted to see.
Legalize goblins on Twitter.
Yeah. This is okay. This is a new versatile heritage where it's like almost like having a clone, like a mirror. I believe it's called the reflection, actually. And
that's kind of the doppelganger we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. I know who wrote this. Yeah.
Okay.
Kendra. Unfortunately, I don't remember their last name, but Kendra's a friend of mine who wrote Sniping Duo, and I ran into them only because we made it for the channel. If you have not checked that out, by the way, it's in the little video thing on YouTube. But they wrote this section, and I think did a great job. I mean, I don't know anything about it besides the fact that it looks cool. I really want to play it. But knowing their writing, because I know what they've worked on.
Now.
I know I'm talking over it. I'm a genius.
If only we could figure out what this is. Okay, yeah, we got it. I'm sure there was no important information there.
No, they're reflections. I'll explain it.
I've seen Twin Peaks. I know that when Dale Cooper looks into his reflection and sees Booper, that's what that is, probably, I assume.
Conflicts with whoever the original person you're based off of us. It's pretty tropey. You do not have to have a goatee if you do not want to. I suppose.
Manuel in chat says, I love how weird some of the PF2 options are. I love making weird characters. We're here for you, Manuel. We are the YouTube channel focused on those weird options that no one else is talking about. Thank you for being here.
Oh yeah,
creative bursts. I love this versatile heritage. Yes, absolutely. These are the kind of really evocative versatile heritage that we're looking for. I think there's something to be said. You can look at the feats, you can look at what mechanically how they represent themselves, but in the end, I mean, certain people are looking for different things, but for me, it's about what is inspirational. What makes me better connect with my character, and the more versatile heritage, the more archetypes we get, the more we can kind of help ourselves connect to these characters that we're making that are unique. And Pathfinder 2e obviously excels at this. We all know.
What happens when cults kind of go wrong a little bit? Which is
what happens when the cults go wrong?
We have very cool art of.
Whoa. Is this
archetype
warlocky?
is
It
an
seems
archetype
warlocky.
that happens when an entity that is much more
More like a
powerful than a
haunt.
mortal gets kind of sealed into a mortal and chooses a mortal as an avatar of some kind.
Well, a little
The living
warlocky.
vessel is kind of like the Sterling Dynamo in Guns and Gears, if you're familiar with that, in that there's some things that kind of you can do no matter what your entity is. Maybe your entity is a fae, or maybe it's a demon, or maybe it's an old one. And those are
I definitely see what you mean with the like the warlock vibes, but I imagine this more kind of like Dead by Daylight kind of situation where like the black the tentacle entity. I don't know what the name of the actual entity. I'm guessing it's just a pure representation of evil.
It might
But-
even just be called the entity. Now that I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it. I love
So
it.
what
Yeah.
that Dead by Daylight, getting
Yeah.
corrupted feel. And like I'm getting like Venom vibes off of
Yeah.
like you can
Yes.
definitely go a symbiotic route, which you can
Yeah.
now pick up on Pathfinder Infinite. But yeah, I was when we were watching this over at Eldritch Dreams, Eldritch Osiris Games. I gotta knock this out of my system. I own this company.
It's your
and
brand. You got.
I know I'm
you gotta know the
messing it
name.
up. But we saw that, and like collectively as a chat, the amount of like screaming we did over getting that news of just seeing the weird stuff Pathfinder is doing, especially in this book, is just I think this is what brings us all together in a weird way that it's so cool, and I'm so here for it. And the more we get of it, I've jokingly said this on Twitter multiple times. I think one time people thought I was trolling, but I want more Pathfinder content from Paizo.
Yeah.
They've always knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I mean, the more that we can better connect with these specific fantasies that we're hoping to, live out through TTRPG, the better. Obviously, like the more we have, the more people have to choose from, which is generally better. I understand that some people have decision paralysis, and that can maybe be a downside, but as a whole, more options is better.
Witch Patron, which
Ooh.
is a super fun one because it's kind of role playing based in a lot of ways. It's about how you interact with with NPCs and can basically trap them into situations where they have to be non-combative with you, or else they take penalties.
Saw that.
Also,
Jay called that focus spell Over the Coals, which I really like.
Yes, Over the Coals is a really good name. And then we have cursed items. We've got some art of
I'm here to rate
items.
everyone's headphones.
On the left, we have the really horrifying goose, which the way this works is you feed it a bloody heart.
I'm telling you now, Sinclair's library.
Wait, one sec.
Gold. But if you feed it a bloody heart that you specifically from someone you killed in order to feed it to the golden goose, you get more money for doing worse murder. So
it's a murder hobo goose.
You make money off of killing people.
What? It gives you more than 50 gold per heart?
Item category.
I'm so afraid to give that a low levels.
This is a balloons monkey farm right here. What is this?
Abrogale. Oh wow. Rune
That's a tough one. That's a tongue twister.
Easy for me to say. In that book.
Wait, I am all about this murder hobo goose. Please give me more information on murder hobo goose.
Okay, so from what I could understand is
if you feed it hearts, and
yeah, you feed it hearts, and it gives you. Okay, hold on. So, I don't know if you're familiar with the tale of Jack and the Beanstalk, but at the end he ends up stealing the golden goose. It can lay golden eggs. I'm guessing that's like the direct inspiration for this, because if you I believe just feed it like a heart in general, it'll just give you like it'll give you I believe like an egg worth 50 gold, and like you can spend it as if it was 50 gold. But if you intentionally kill a creature and then harvest it, I'm gonna imagine this is like either a 1 or 10-minute activity to do. I don't think it'll be one action. Has some really interesting narrative.
I don't want to talk about it until I like see the text in front of me, but too much. But wow, that would really have some implications. Because what if I walked into a village, killed everyone in the village and then fed their hearts to this thing, you could quickly have just a money-making machine. Anyways, all right. I don't want to get into it until I know officially what it does, but that's
You make a
interesting.
pact with an entity, and it places a curse on you, but also you can activate a benefit from
Samuel
it. So
Glines,
that
you're
can
my
be
murder
specific,
hobo goose baby.
the
Samuel
the
Glines, I've never met you
the
before or
normal
played a
lives of
game
the
with you
dead
every
and
week,
super
but I want you to know
benefit
you're my
they
murder
can
hobo
they can
goose
deliver
also, BB.
themselves, but also once a day, not always. But
God, I
also
love this
you can use
community.
it to neutralize poisons yourself. So you get one thing and you lose another is kind of the idea of those. We also had a new category called Tempted Curse, which is similar to the bargain contracts but less permanent. And so there's one like where it makes your skin fall off, but it prevents you from taking, or it gives you resistance to bleed damage.
That's really interesting because
Just
I know
it's
like
kind of a gnarly chapter.
Sinclair's only because like we've talked about this on the channel, so you can totally check out our latest video on that. Yeah, cursed archetypes work very similarly, and it's so cool seeing both Paizo and us over there like sharing the same brainwave, I
Yeah.
guess.
I mean, we talked about this. Yeah, we did talk about this on chat. Yeah, having abilities that are fueled by negative implications to your character, I think, is a very interesting mechanical standpoint to come from, and I'm all for it because oftentimes the negative aspects of our characters drive forward the narrative structure of our characters as a whole just as much as the positive and cool aspects do. I feel like that is an oft forgotten element of the character design as a whole.
I'm only rewinding because I heard a name of a particular item that I know over here at Deadly D8 we're a giant fan of, and I wanted to hear the
all right.
context of it.
Go ahead.
Resistance to bleed damage. So just it's kind of a gnarly chapter, which is really fun.
One of the things that I really like about this chapter is, in Pathfinder, curses are kind of, they're a negative, right? They're things like, oh, I have a bag of holding. Oh no, everything is weasels now.
He says it like it's a negative. How is that not a positive?
No, we all want the bag to turn our items into weasels, right? I'm sure the items in the bag probably weren't as cool as a weasel. Plus 3 final sword. Who cares about that? That could be a weasel. All right, think about what a weasel might do for you. Okay.
You could make a whole animated song over it.
I mean, who's to say? Keep it going. You gotta finish strong, baby.
Did you know about the bag of weasels?
I didn't know about the bag of weasels. Now I do.
We gotta get Tess to see that.
Oh yes.
Our bag of weasels.
And we see that, in a lot of fiction, but we also see things like I was cursed.
That whole song came to me in one day. I was literally like the same day I wrote, recorded, did the beat for it, and it was like, yep. It was I went into a fugue state. Also was a recommendation from a Deadly D8 Discord member. I had zero intention of making a Bag of Weasel song until someone in our Discord mentioned that I should do that, and I was like, yeah, sure.
I will admit I want to see this follow up with Bag of Cats. I want to know what a sequel would look like.
Oof, it's gonna be hard to follow that up.
I know.
Part of this book, and is all about the various ways that time has gotten all jumped up across Galarian. And one of my favorite things about this chapter, specifically about the lore parts of this chapter, is that it's not just one. That would have been so boring. It's not like, there's one sort of explanation of like
Manuel says that song is the first thing I show people about Pathfinder 2e. Yes, that song is an excellent introduction to Pathfinder 2e. No extra questions asked. You show them that, they're pretty much good to go. They can play a game.
A place where the next day is always fire day. It's great. But the really cool stuff in here, I think, is the ways that we've like mechanically expressed messing around with time. I think this is a really hard thing to do in games, especially like cooperative games.
It's interesting that they say that. I mean, I mean absolutely, and I apologize now if it comes off a little brash, but like time in Pathfinder has always been this really interesting mechanic, and seeing it come to Starfinder, I thought was like the
just
greatest
find
basis to see,
little
like,
things
to
with different
translate that into
spells.
second edition.
My personal favorite
I mean,
are
I know
spell
they
spells.
probably did a great job on this
Besides,
section.
there's these
Don't get me wrong.
you know
I think it's gonna be really
creatures
interesting
that
to see where they're going with this. Just
in
because I love
order
time
to
magic so
interact with
much.
these
I will
meddling
fully
things,
admit
you
to,
get to just call
once
one,
again, the Doctor Who obsession.
have it say hey,
Yeah.
and probably
I mean, when it
just
comes to magic,
really
it's always an
mess up
interesting
stuff.
tightrope to balance,
Um,
but they've
and
done well so far with the time spells I've
yeah,
seen. Wow.
yes.
Oh, that art.
I'm pretty sure this is Awaken Entropy. Yeah.
I started reading all of the
Which
Pathfinder
basically
comics,
creates spaces
and
where
it focuses on the iconics. And,
things
mwah,
move
so
fast.
good.
I've
It's so
only
much.
read the first
it-
2 volumes, but I will fully admit that's just because I haven't bought number 3 yet, and it's on its way.
Yeah, I got them all in a bundle, and I've just been working my way through. And yeah, they're legitimately very good. I was surprised.
If you get around to it, Pathfinder Goblins is such a funny little graphic novel.
Each with a little bit of a different flavor. Time Major, it's
Hmm.
focusing on studying time, on figuring out how it works, and as magic distorts time, how those sort of ripple out and have effects on timelines and cause people to get caught in the spaces between moments and things like that. And that's still sort of rooted in on Galarian. And then Chronoskimmer, I really love. I would like to share a really brief quote from the beginning because I think of its sort of like flavor because I think it's beautiful. Um, Most beings are carried downstream inexorably by time like a leaf floating on a river. Now you stand on the banks of the river, watching the flow, choosing where to dive in or even defying the current, at least for a short while, as you skim its surface and skip from moment to moment. As a chronoskimmer, time is yours to exploit. I love that. I love that.
That's so cool.
Cool. Oh yeah.
I'm getting Tracer vibes from it, and I'm all here for that.
On this here, the Time Mage, the Time Mage is an archetype, and the archetypes always have a dedication feat that tells you, how you might have gotten to learn to be an archer, learn to be
Real excited to see how they present this
and
Time
Time
Mage.
Mage, which was written by Dan
That
Castellano,
because
it just says
it's
you are not
easy to
limited
break the
by
system when you
future
start
knowledge.
messing
And
with
some of that knowledge
what
just
time looks like and
encapsulates
what
you
turns look like and how many actions you can do and all that. But
Yeah.
what I've seen so far has been
The
good.
Time Mage is just like one of the Time Mage things is you can like pull a. You're like, oh, I don't know this spell yet, but I will.
That's cool.
Logan, why
I'm
don't
liking
you,
it.
just take us to the Oh, Avi?
Yeah, I just really want to call out the prose writing in this book is probably my favorite of any book that we
really
published. Just in terms of
The writing in
character
Pathfinder, it's so
and
engaging.
voice, and it's
I know
always
they
a
they they
little
they
bit,
bebop between a lot of writers,
curious
but
and a
the
little
the
bit
quality
skeptical
is always
as well.
there.
So that is really
I
fun.
think that's really the strength of this book is how seamlessly, like, James led us to weaving together the narrative aspects of it with all of the things that you actually use throughout the game, like as you actually play as
Mm.
these characters and play through these stories. It's really cool.
I mean, this was 100% the lore writers and the other designers on this project. This had a very large number of people on the project, and they all did a really great job on it.
Yeah, I would imagine a project like this would
One more
need a
final
ton of
thing to talk
freelancers to come up on, just because the
Yeah,
scope is so
I'll
large.
finish out and now we're into
Yeah.
the bewildering metaphysical realms part of this, going from temporal anomalies to mindscapes. So, mindscapes
This
are
is a section I think you're
Logan's
gonna love.
contained within
Logan's bookshelf looks like it's gonna collapse at any moment.
or psychically
It's
powerful
definitely
minds.
extensive,
This ends
and
up with
I like that I could
Got a
recognize a
lot of
lot of
books on it.
these.
You're going to see some of
A lot of weight,
so
precariously
it
balanced
starts
there.
off talking about like what are mindscapes, what are some different types of mindscapes, what is it like to be inside one, because it's pretty
I
different
think it would be
from
really
the
cool to see an AP where you have to jump from mindscape to mindscape
limitations of
and
mindscapes.
just see
And
because it's a plane
Ooh,
of pure
let him hit a
imagination, like of
yeah.
mind.
using rituals to create mindscapes or to try to create a
Ooh.
mindscape door to get into
Rituals don't get enough love, and they will the longer this game exists. But yeah, rituals are a very well developed mechanic in Pathfinder 2e, and I'm waiting for the day that the general public kind of starts to accept how cool they actually are and the
I've always
implications for
liked
what they
them.
mean for your characters. Yeah, same.
basic ideas down.
I think it's just because the ritualist archetype felt off because we didn't have a lot, and I think that's kind of what set it back. But the more we see it, like
Yeah.
come up, like with Secrets of Magic, I think that's what really solidified it for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
We introduced mental damage. So now we have kind of a spot where you can
Oh,
take
mental
your
damage
control
didn't
of
exist in
somebody
first
and it
edition.
still kind of has the same end effect of
Oh,
being
see,
It
yes.
didn't really, yeah.
knock somebody out in the real world by
We talked about illusions earlier in the stream, and illusions can deal damage in Pathfinder 2e, and it's cool because they deal damage. It's not a lot, but then if at any point the subject realizes that it's an illusion, they just automatically heal half the damage they've taken, and that's a really cool mechanic in and of itself. I actually used that because I play 5e with some friends from time to time, and I use that in a 5e game because it doesn't exist because the 5e illusions rolls kind of suck. But yeah. I think it's cool, the idea of a spell that can deal damage over time a good amount, but then like if the person realizes it's fake, they can just shuck it off.
I like this psychic duel
Yeah, hell yeah.
setup. I've always liked duels in general. Like I've always thought like having two characters like 1v1 in a fight, and like seeing that like in a narrative
Yeah.
sense happen, and seeing that spellcasters can just not even spellcasters because they also mentioned like barbarians can come up and do these.
Yeah.
It's literal imagination at that point. It's like pure creativity.
I would love to see a subsystem for PvP or 1v1 character
They've
fights.
introduced
That isn't
it
just a
before.
turn-based.
Yeah.
Maybe. I would love to see one that isn't literally just going to combat. Some variable ways to do that.
I think the difficulty with that is like at that point you're just running kids on brooms with the Pathfinder like name on it. I mean, if that works for you, oh man, I'm so sorry that you didn't like them in 1E, but I think in 2E they're gonna go great just because I have not been disappointed in second edition on a lot of fronts. They've been very bold with second edition. I'll fully admit that.
The subsystems in 2E they haven't always been perfect. I've seen better examples of certain subsystems in other TTRPGs, but that said, they've always been very good, and they've always been kind of the best expression of those systems for what Pathfinder needs, right? And using its own mechanics. You can't just jump to another system's mechanics when you write a subsystem. You have to use the existing mechanics, and I feel like they've done that well in pretty much every subsystem I've seen so far. Wow, and I saw a screenshot of this earlier. So these are all adventures that are going to be published.
They're going to be in the book, Dark Archive. Like I believe this is like the mini adventures like section.
Wow, that's going to be included in the book? That's insane. That's cool.
So many great names too on this.
Absolutely. Banana Chan. Oh, Quinn Murphy, friend of the show also.
I'm trying to get Quinn over here. It's all been scheduling conflicts, but like at some point he'll be over here either for an interview or for a live stream, but stay tuned for that. If it doesn't happen within a month, add him a bunch on Twitter. That totally won't destroy our relationship with them.
Yeah, no. Yeah, just everyone go at Quinn Murphy and say go on dd8. You have my permission. It's fine.
We worked with authors to kind of name
Conrasu coin.
Well, if you don't mind, I'm gonna pause it real quick because I also just want to read it. These wooden discs sometimes form spontaneously at the wood pile, a secret Conrasu location suffused with extraplanar energy. A Conrasu coin can be activated to call upon the power of specific type of Aeon. My dyslexia is really kicking up right now.
No, and then I read the rest. So it gives you a circumstance bonus to diplomacy check with a +3 circumstance bonus for lawful creatures. So it's just basically a diplomacy check bonus. Those circumstance bonuses, they're easy-ish to come across, but always good when you can get them. That's interesting. I like that.
I wonder what the nimble roll feat is. Wait, hold on. Look, I don't know if that exists already in 2E. Somebody in chat, please correct me. I have never heard of this, but I could
Yeah,
definitely
wait, Nimble Roll is the one that lets you dodge.
There's Nimble Dodge.
A Nimble.
Hold
No,
on.
Nimble Roll is the one that lets you add it to reflex saves, right? As well.
This
I
is
think
why
so.
I have. It's a
Keep
rogue
the
feat
video
with level
going. Let's yeah.
I take it back. It's an improvement on Nimble Dodge.
Yeah. It's the +2 to
I'm
dex
sorry,
saves,
Paizo,
right?
for ever
or reflex
questioning
saves.
your infinite knowledge of. I wonder who wrote this one. I've always liked that the way they can blend this flavor with the mechanics, and this was something really cool in Secrets of Magic. I'm so glad that they're keeping at this, like, because the first, like, what, 20 pages or so is all like theory crafting on how magic works in a narrative setting, and I've always thought
which is cool. It's nice having that ironed down, because that might mean a lot to some viewers, but to some people who really want to have, it's like what is the physics and the the actual like mechanical way that this works in the world. That's really important to some people, and I'm glad that we kind of have that written out in some ways.
If you have any, we'll try to get to them. I saw one here, Logan, about the ability score for the thaumaturge and how that.
Brant Valier says loved this Conroscopter.
Sure.
Counters on counters on counters, all the while there's a mental back and forth taking place on the astral plane. Absolutely.
So the thaumaturge uses charisma.
A charisma-based martial. That's interesting.
Oh,
that has some interesting design implications.
Yeah. Well, I mean, immediately you can feint. You can make diplomacy checks. These things are good to yeah, because like in a lot of ways, like the rogue is the catch-all hero type that can be good at everything, but having a nice charisma-based martial is interesting, because that'd be an easy way to blend combat and out of combat.
I thought it was going to be strength dexterity with the like secondary of either charisma, or wisdom, or intelligence. It's really interesting seeing charisma being the forefront, that because like summoner has charisma, but like summoner's also a caster. Like it's a half caster.
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't even touching spellcasting unless you go a specific route.
Which honestly could get some gripes, because if you're a martial with charisma as your key stat, you're always going to be 2 below anyone that has strength or dex as their key stat.
I think the Pact Binder is.
Okay, but hold on. But thinking about that though, because you brought up something really, really cool that I think is super interesting, is okay, if they're going to be 2 behind, which means that's what, 1 less damage, and also -1 permanently, like to hit, right?
Yeah.
Isn't this where that force of weaknesses come in to make up for that? I think that's really
maybe. Yeah.
My braid
and
in the mechanics world right now is trying.
Yeah, and they might be like the investigator, where they have a way to turn, like investigators can turn into damage and into hit. I'd be curious to see. I won't know until we see more, officially, of what that looks like.
Yeah, let me just pull that up. The Pact Binder.
Pact Binder?
Sorry.
Pact Binder for Pathfinder.
Live.
Wait, isn't every class a charisma-based class? Asking someone who always takes Bon Mot at 2nd level.
Bon Mot
I don't blame you.
One of the best. Oh yeah.
It's easily one of the best skill feats.
So, like a social kind of archetype, it's a role-playing archetype, I would say. That basically you can make pacts with different entities. So it really is the kind of thing where your GM is going to work with you in order to find situations in which you can make pacts with different creatures, like whether it's a fae or a dragon.
So warlock as an archetype.
Yeah. Which, I mean, let's be honest, warlock would always have been an archetype. I don't know why it was a whole class in 5e. That's super weird.
Because archetypes don't exist in 5e.
There's a question here about the rarity.
We won't get into this now.
Okay, they're
And
getting into
the
rarity
Chrono Skimmer
tags.
is rare. This is kind of because the Chrono Skimmer, in the world of Galarian, time magic is not unheard of. Everyone has haste, everyone has slow. This is not unheard of, but kind of falling out of the time travel
Everyone
world,
has haste.
just
Everyone has
in
slow.
Galarian
That's a
setting
good.
at least, is
That's
just a
funny.
little more of a weird thing. I think that in terms of kind of how they narratively and mechanically intersect, they're maybe on a similar level.
Manuel
There's a
says
little bit of
Bonmont
disparity,
Wizards are
but
scary AF.
baseline.
Brant Valier, so many high charisma fighters, thanks to intimidate, demoralize being so
I
powerful.
like that.
Absolutely.
Not
Yeah,
specifically
yeah. And
on
having it
the
be your
commentary
key
sheet
stat
is that
means that
the kind of lore
it's
stuff
that
is
actually has some
narratively
strong
It's
implications. That
implicated.
means that it
Yeah.
can
that
yeah, that means it can
taking on
scale very well. If you can take that as your is there wait, is there you said the summoner is a charisma based class. Is there any others that I'm not thinking of? I'm a little
Not in the
tired.
sense that it's like a key ability score, but
Yeah, because it being your key ability score means that you're going to be able to make those demoralize checks at least +2 higher than anyone else can. That
Mhm.
actually is powerful.
Unfortunately, this was kind of a long panel, and we have a lot of questions. We are going to be in the Q&A in the Discord, so if we couldn't get to you, I'm
There
sorry,
is a
please, I'll
Discord,
be there, and we'll try to answer some
not
questions
Discord.
during
This
that
is kind of where the
time.
panel ends, but there is somewhere on the dd8 server a link. Someone has compiled all of the Discord
Yes.
AMAs into
Yeah.
one
It
place.
might just be in general, but yeah, it's certainly in our Discord. So if you're not, if you haven't joined our Discord, hop up on there. We've got some discussion happening there for about PaizoCon, which is fun. Just it's a cool place to be.
All right, just give me 1 second as we transition. All right.
Yeah, I mean I assume we're gonna wrap up here things.
Yeah,
I'm fading fast pretty pretty quick.
What is
So
your
yeah, go ahead.
thoughts? Yeah, I want to hear what's going through your head.
Yeah, I mean, my initial impressions, it seems like we're delving more into these areas of interest that we've seen the community be vocal about so far. I'm excited to see, how these two new classes shape up. Looks like we've got a lot of new archetypes on the horizon that hopefully fill in even more gaps. Paizo continuing this tradition they've had the last couple years of building out, a fuller universe, a fuller setting for people across all different types of settings and mechanics and games that they want to play. I'm impressed as I've always been with their content, and I'm excited to see kind of what the next steps are. A lot of this I'm not going to have any real views on until I see what the text is for each of these fun items in the classes that we're going through. But I've really enjoyed just kind of getting a quick little overview, and I know you and I have been talking over a lot of the content covered because we like doing that. We can't shut up, and I'm sure there's a lot of good stuff we missed. But even through that, this has been fun to watch as always. I love taking the time to sit down and actually get to watch this. This has been an excuse to do that. So thank you, James.
Yeah, no problem. I've always been super interested in seeing other people's reactions when we like do these kind of like cons or events. And so like when I heard that you haven't seen any of it yet, I was just like, "Oh my God, I got to make an excuse." Oh yeah, we have a little dd8 stream. Uh it was genuinely a lot of fun to talk with you because you have this great insight into the game that I wish a lot more people would have. I'm not saying like other people's insights aren't wrong. I just think you have such a unique way of expressing it that like this is why one of the reasons why I follow you on Twitter so often is just because you not because you're you sign my the little paychecks at the end of the month, but more in the sense that you've always had this one, great content in terms of memes, but two, just this magnificent insight, and always getting to pick your brain is such a great experience.
Yeah, I mean, often my perspective focuses on, and I really cannot say this enough, like, Pathfinder 2e shines when you look at it from the perspective of what works here and like how is this cool rather than nitpicking it and trying to find faults and things. Because, these mechanics, they're made by some of the best professionals out there right now in the TTRPG scene who understand the implications of what they're doing very well and understand the implications of the system as a whole. So if you take a step back to appreciate it rather than kind of, have negative thoughts about it, often it's easy to be impressed with the quality of the content that's there. And once again, we've seen nothing but cool new ideas presented. They're not all going to be hits. There's going to be some misses, but a lot of the time, the vast majority of the content is interesting, new, fun ways to approach the game. If you take the time to find out how you can do this in fun ways, the thaumaturge being a perfect example. There's all kinds of cool new items we're going to explore. The investigator presented so many cool items with which you can use to drastically change the way you approach the game. If you look at things from that perspective, from the perspective of this is cool, what can I do with this, rather than like, what does this mechanically shape out to be, or how does this mathematically crunch out to be, you'll find yourself impressed. And that's always been my thesis. That's been the thesis of dd8, and it's been cool seeing some more ways we can do that with this stream. So thank you, James. Sorry,
Yeah.
I will shut up now.
No, I love it. I like I said, I absolutely love having you, even like when we're just talking, just like the two of us in like DMs or on a call. It's always been so great, and I think this is what like genuinely separates dd8 from like No Nat Ones or some of like the other great people like that surround us in terms of Pathfinder, is because we just jump into the weird stuff.
Yeah,
And
we're
I'm
not
always
afraid to jump into the weird stuff. Yeah.
We'll make a whole animated video on a bag of weasels. And speaking of someone who just recorded the last, one of the more recent stuff that I'm sure is in editing right now. I won't say what it is just because I want to give it a little hush hush. But I love that we could explore this weird space, and I'm literally at a loss of words just because it's so much fun, and I hope everyone enjoyed our
yes, thank
talk
you
over
for tuning in.
yeah. Thank you for tuning in to our
talking over the
all of our
PaizoCon
friends over at Paizo. Yeah. Thank you to the Paizo employees that unfortunately got talked over. I'm sure you had a lot of great insight, and I will personally be going back and rewatching to see what I talked over. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and just a quick reminder before we go, 2 announcements, and then I will officially stop talking. Remember to check out World Anvil. It is a great online interactive platform. I seriously love using World Anvil.
I'm legitimately proud of the sponsor. Like I was very happy they reached out. I was waiting. I had other offers from other companies before I said okay to World Anvil. Code dd8 to get 40% off your subscription if you'd like to hop on, but check out what they have to offer. It's legitimately some very quality content that can improve your game. And I think something World Anvil really does well with is as a general place to kind of keep a notebook of the timeline of your game and the world and what it looks like. There's really no one else that does it better. So that's my little shilling for World Anvil. Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone. James, I'm going to steal the mic. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and taking some time to chat with us today. I've loved reading through our chat here today. I hope to see more. If you have any questions that we didn't cover during this stream, please make sure to leave a comment. Please make sure to like this video if you haven't, and subscribe to dd8. I'm sure that everyone watching this video right now is probably subscribed already, but if you haven't, make sure to do that. Yeah, James, any last sign-offs here?
Join the dd8 Patreon to get more content from us. It's a blast, and that's all the announcements I got. I didn't have anything else.
That's it. Hard cut. Close the stream.
Okay,
James,
bye.
Close the stream. Bye, we love you all.
Okay, it's gone.